If you live in the UK, there's probably been countless times where you've driven past a road sign and just stopped and thought, that's a funny name. And what we don't realise though is quite often, no matter how ridiculous or funny these names are, there's usually a very good reason why they're called it. Our place names are quite unique. They give us a glimpse into that place's history. They can tell us who had settled there, what kind of landscape it sits in, and sometimes even hint at historical events and battles. From the names of places, villages, and even hills, they all show us hints of languages of those who have come before us and have settled and have changed the English landscape. Now, the Celts might not have left a huge linguistic mark across England, but there's evidence of them in the names of places. We'll look at the word pen, for example, which is a Celtic word that was used for hill, and we see that across places such as Pendle, Penrith, Penzance. And then with the Romans who built military forces across the country, we see the word Chester in many places that are associated with Roman forts: Manchester, Chester, Leicester. And then we get to the Anglo-Saxons, who are probably the biggest contributors to the place names we still use today. And we find that they named their places for a vast amount of different reasons. One, we sometimes see a link to the people who most likely founded it. So we have Birmingham, who was likely founded by a person called Beorma. We also see links to animals. So we have Oxford, which directly translates to Ford of Oxen. And even where I'm from, Oldham, directly translates to Old Hamlet or Old Village. And we see this across where there's references of the landscape, of animals, of people, and that became a rich and vital source to how, or an important piece to how the Anglo-Saxons named their places, and it's still used today. Now, as the centuries passed and Britain became more exposed to the threat of invasion, particularly from the Vikings, towns became more fortified, and we see evidence of that in place names such as Borough, Bury, Burr, which hints at their history and their story and how those areas evolved. Almondbury, Edinburgh, Middlesbrough, just points to that time in history and gives us a sense of what was changing and how important those places were and what they were used for as well. These are names that aren't obscure, but they are patterns that appear all over, and they have become a crucial part of my work, or what I'm trying to do here in Saddleworth, in terms of looking at piecing together Saddleworth's ancient history. And when looking at the early Ordnance Survey maps, there is a name description that you find appears over and over again, and that word is low. Now, the word low almost always finds its root from the Anglo-Saxon hlao. No idea how that's pronounced, but it means, usually it relates to a barrow, a mound, or artificial ground. And when we see that name appear on maps, it's likely hinting at, what it's telling us is that, something once stood here, something important was here. And usually that's in relation to a burial mound. And these are dotted all across Saddleworth. Some of the places are still known today. Others, it's just referenced on the early maps. And we see these in place names across Saddleworth. Some are still used today. We have Narlow, Low Top, Hartshead Low. And these place names are not random. Even when the stones have gone, the land's been flattened, it's these markings on a map, these place names are that important piece of the puzzle that tell us or hint at that place's history. They're a link to our history, our stories, our traditions, our culture. And often it's just hidden inside a single word that, when unpacked, it can show us centuries of change. And we often don't realise that it's far too easy to go past a place name and think nothing of it, or perhaps we become so used to the name of a place that we just don't think of it. And yeah, quite often these place names can be quite humorous. If you look at a list of the most absurd English place names, one always appears, and that's But Hole Lane, which obviously has a modern meaning. It's quite different. But we go back to the Tudor times, But referred to an archery target, and it's likely that this place was used for archery practice. So it's just a bit of food for thought next time you pass through a place and that has a strange name or a funny name. Quite often you can unpack that and find a hidden meaning that tells a bit more about the place, a bit more of what it's gone through, and a bit more of its history. So leave your comments below if you know of any humorous or interesting place names. I'd love to hear them, and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.